Right. Good morning and welcome to TalkSports. It's our Saturday sports special. And just a little apology for just the little grins, Just when you're about to start, all the technical things come up, right? But as indicated on today's program, we'll be speaking to no other than Mr. Paul Phillip. Well, when I mention the name Paul Phillip, I don't need to give any, big introduction to Mr. Phillip. As you know, Mr. Paul Phillip has been on our program, albeit I think it would have been 2 years. The last time he was on our program was just after the Tokyo Olympics. In fact, he spoke to us live from Tokyo, right? And this time we are joined by Mr. Paul Phillip. Paul Phillip is not just the coach of two-time world champion Anderson Peters, who also is Olympic medalist, bronze medalist, but he has also coached, as indicated, multi-medalist. And I don't want to just say 2 and 3 and 4, multi-medalist. In fact, he has even given coaching advice to a number of, athletes, especially in the throwing events, not just from Grenada, but even outside of Grenada. Mr. Paul Phillip is joining us. Our co-host, Mr. Rudian Silvan, will also join us a little later on, and we'll be looking a lot at, the season gone by, and then we'll also looking at some of the things that Mr. Phillip, would like to see. We heard from Mr. Keith Joseph just recently about a throws academy, and that's something Mr. Phillip spoke about many moons ago, and we are now hearing that it's something that has been on the table for quite a while, and we'll hear the insights from Mr. Phillip regarding that. Let me welcome Mr. Paul Phillip. Paul, good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael, and good morning to all the listeners of TalkSports.
Yeah. Right. Thanks very much, Mr. Phillip, for joining us. And certainly it's a pleasure having you. And, we have quite a bit to catch up on. I know you smiled when you heard about the Throws Academy because we have, you're the person who raised that many years ago. And here it is in 2024. We're still talking about it and we're hearing that it's still on the table. But besides that, we'll come to that momentarily. But let's talk about the 2024 season, especially for your main charge, Mr. Anderson Peters. How would you describe that 2024 season?
It was one of the more challenging seasons of Anderson's career, my coaching career. Yet, Anderson was coming from a terrible season, if I should say, in 2023. A season that saw him sustaining an injury to his ankle on the eve of the meet in Ostrava, which we were looking hopefully to win. And it was just a simple thing where we were doing a drill that was, routine, and he tripped over a hurdle and damaged his ankle. Then following that, he sustained an injury to his shoulder, which caused us to have to leave the circuit and seek medical assistance over in the US. None of that really brought any real relief, but we had to push through the season. As you know, being a professional athlete and having your bills to pay, you can't just abandon a season as a thrower. Maybe if you're a sprinter and your salary is so much more, you might be able to say, well, okay, let's call this season quit and come back next year. So we had to push through the season, and many persons may have seen, the distances and were wondering what was happening. 79s, and he even got to I think a 61 meters in the final of the Diamond League in Eugene, and something that he did in his early years at Curfta, but that was because of the injury. So coming from that season, it caused us to have to think about rehabilitation, and that rehabilitation started in November last year, and it was a successful journey. It was a lot to do, but we actually got through, He had a procedure done on his shoulder, and had many visits to the physio who worked with his general muscle strength and so excuse my sweating. But nonetheless, we pulled through the season. We got him quickly back to his strength and worked on things technical. It was a slow start to the season, but we knew that the season was going to be long. And the major aim of the season was to win the Diamond League finals and to get a medal at the Olympics. Somewhere in the middle of the training, the preparation for the Olympics, we thought we could get a gold medal for the Olympics. But then we saw what happened. But I think in summary, the season was a fantastic season. I think it's what we worked for. It's the dream of every athlete to have a season like this.
Mm-hmm. So you would, and you're certain that when I say a certain, you mention that the goals for 2024 is at least the Diamond League and the Olympics. But with all these factors that you mentioned, particularly the injury, at any point in time, were you concerned as a coach that your targets for 2024 may not be achieved?
Yeah, in the initial stages of the rehabilitation, we thought that there might be a chance that it might not happen. But then once we got the assurance that the shoulders could take the work.
Oh, I think we just lost Mr. Phillip. Certainly he will be back with us. By the way, I think there have been some technical problems they have been having especially with the internet in Grenada over the past few days. And I could understand because I saw some postings recently with some of the comments regarding that. But nevertheless, he will join us momentarily. But he indicated definitely that the targets for 2024 were met. A medal at the Olympics, well, certainly if you want a medal at the Olympics, it needed a gold, silver, or bronze. But his thing was a medal at the Olympics and winning the Diamond League, which they achieved. And certainly we want to congratulate Mr. Anderson Peters and his coach, Mr. Paul Phillip, who has been with him from day one. He has been a staple in coaching and throws in particular at especially in the St. David's area, whether it's St. David's Catholic Secondary School, Westerhall Secondary School, Trailblazers, St. David's as a whole. When you go to Lasseter's playing field and you see all these folks, participating, we wait for him to rejoin us. So at the same time, I say good morning to Rudian. Rudian, thank you for joining me. Certainly, as we wait for Mr. Phillip to rejoin us. I don't know if you got a grasp of what he was saying regarding the achievements,
Yes, certainly. A pleasant good morning to you. And I certainly did hear a glimpse of that before popping on. But surely that's always a coach and an athlete goal, to achieve everything they want to achieve in a season. Certainly we have seen this, with Addison, and I think it's sometimes the challenges is more than expectation. We have seen, winning the Diamond League, getting a gold medal, getting a medal, not a gold, getting a medal at the Olympic Games. Surely is a a step,
So
beyond some things, So surely, yeah.
all right, so Mr. Phillip is back with us. Let's rejoin him. I was just saying, Mr. Phillip, I've heard about the technical problems and internet and thing that folks in Grenada have been facing over the past few days. So I apologize to you, but that's good to see you back. But as you were indicated in terms of your concern, you started by talking about the concerns you had regarding the injury, the injury scare, or when you had the injury, whether or not you will achieve the goals for 2024. The medal and at the Olympics and the Diamond League?
Yeah. So yeah, we was as I was saying, there was some doubt before we got the actual expert to work with him with the on the injury, and once the rehabilitation actually happened, started, then there was some more certainty because you started to see the strength of the shoulder coming back, you started to see the mobility, and then the bigger challenge then was to get his mind to connect to his muscles, right? So then there was some uncertainty, but once we got that, we knew that and Anderson Peters here, who is 90% ready, is ready to compete against the best in the world. He's that good.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the inconsistency and the concerns at times when he was doing 70-meter. Well, you mentioned throws that he would have done probably in high school or in at the Carifta Games. Kind of guide us through as a coach how you deal with this, especially a mind of an athlete like Anderson Peters at his caliber, that you know his true potential, but he was in the 70s and the low 80s and things. How?
Well, I mean, when we compete, I have my phone. I'm recording, and a lot of people call me. I see you. No, I'm recording each throw, and you can see the technical flaws after each throw, and in real time show the athlete what we need to change to do the next attempt. Now, sometimes we just laugh it off. It's like, coach, I want to just go 78, and I push that so hard, So we laugh when there is that going on in order to stay away from becoming frustrated. You know that you're so much better than a 78-meter throw. You know that you would put in the work that will give you something better than 78 meters. But here you are and you can't get it. So this is where the psychological preparation of your athlete really comes into play, right? And one of the things that we do at St. David's Trailblazers is that when we have our athletes, we speak a lot about the challenges that athletes may face from time to time. And it doesn't matter at which level, at his level as a professional, he is better equipped to deal with it. But you have to constantly be reminding athletes of the purpose. You have to constantly be reassuring them so that they build the confidence and maintain the confidence in the work that they're doing, in their ability, and in the ability of the coaches.
Right. Rudian, as a coach yourself, and certainly
Yes, no, most definitely, Mr. Phillip. I just want to congratulate you on the success that you had this summer and over the past years. A lot of times we are coach. The fans don't see the coaches; they only see the athlete, and sometimes the coaches never get the glory. But I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you and give you your flowers, as one rose that it may be. But I want to give you that flowers that he certainly did well with him, and there's lot more time to come with him. He's haven't reached his prime yet. He have a lot in him. And I know you believe as well as he believed that he can throw farther than what he has ever thrown. By just putting the work in. But surely one of the things that I do as a coach with my athlete, one of the things I actually said to her is in a competition, whenever either you jump a personal best or if you have a fault or something, it happened before. I trained her mindset to laugh it off. That that's nothing. It happened before. Even when she jumped a personal best, I said, "Hey, let's laugh it up." They get so excited, and the next jump could mess up. So I always say, just laugh it off. We've done it before. So you have to act like, yeah, it happened before. So it really it's not for everybody. And like I said, you really have to train a lot of people for that. And when they get to that level of being on the professional level or even on the NCAA level, they have to have this type of attitude going in. But surely I am so proud of you and what you and your camp is doing, with Anderson, and surely, man, there is so much glory to for that. And thank you for bringing that medal to Grenada. Um, that is well deserved, well needed. We just had one, but now we could say we have three now. So surely, I want to thank you for being a part of that, and the great things that you are doing, and continue doing it. Continue doing what you're doing for coaching for Grenada, for the young athletes um, in Grenada. We have so much talent in Grenada. I have my challenge that I have is um, with the coaching and the coaching development in Grenada is how do you find those talents? And when we find those talents, how do we keep those talents? Because that puts you as a coach to travel a lot. Because an athlete might be, I use St. Patrick's for an example, and you might be coaching in St. David's. How would they get to you?
Well,
And so certainly,
yeah. Well, I'm glad you
and I
raised
know
that because
there has been areas where you have been there's collaboration, but it certainly could be a challenge.
well, that is something Coach Phillip has spoken about over the years. In fact, I think it would have been probably our first program. I can't remember, but many years ago, in terms of putting a program together to do the talent identification and
Yeah.
going around the country, and not just um, you know the mainland, but he also spoke at the time about Karaku, for example, because at that time we saw Karaku has been doing well. We know of some of
Mhm.
the athletes who traveled from Karaku and worked out with you at Last Suggest, Coach Phillip. But how do you ensure that the exploits of Anderson Peters, because I mean, two-time world champion, whatever games common. I mean, he has in terms of the throws in javelin. When you speak about that event, just as well you speak about the 400 meters for Kirani James. When you speak about javelin, the name Anderson Peters will also mention. How you ensure, Coach Phillip, that that legacy, and I have to say a legacy, will continue among our throwers in particular in Grenada in terms of identifying talent and ensuring that there is a legacy after the Anderson Peters?
Well, from my end, I could only speak from my end, and I could only do what I could do. My dream has always been to produce an Olympic and world medalist from right in Grenada, and I would have accomplished that. I think by me doing that, I would have set the trend. I would have shown young people what is possible. It is not without its challenges. We all know of the challenges that I face, right? And I know sometimes I would not want to have changed much of that because it would have shaped me to be becoming who I am now. Okay. Now, in terms of what I want as a legacy, I'm trying as much as possible to keep people's interest and to get young persons to emulate the path that Anderson took. Because it wasn't easy, but back then, but it's easier now. Now that you've seen someone actually do it, right? You know now that it can be done. Coaching a younger athlete now is easier for me than when I started with Anderson, for example. I have much more knowledge. I have developed the skills of being able to simplify things. And if you want to say fast track the path to that level. But what we see here is that there's still a void in terms of persons who have the talent. Yes, we have a small population, but if you look closely at what it has been trending over the years, at Intercol, for example, when I was a thrower, I was the only person outside of St. Andrew who won a medal at Intercal. Now, you're struggling to get throwers out of St. Andrews, right? So somewhere there was, I want to say, a breakdown in the production line where we no longer have those persons with the talent, with the ability, with the size coming to the fore and being trained properly. Of course, back then.
And you made a very important point. Just take that point there, because before your time, we had the likes of the Trevor Modest, the Modest clan, we should say, right? We even had Colin Peters and all these guys coming from
and the
Devon
George and
Devon, right? So you're correct about that. Before your right,
all the Peters and them, all right, and all of those,
all right, and things like that. So that's a very important point. Continue there now. So I mean, it certainly is a concern for you as well.
Right. So some probably about 3 years ago, I think it was before the COVID though. Yes, it was before the COVID. The GOC actually initiated a program where I was in charge of a few junior coaches, and we took a talent identification program around Grenada, and we struggled to find interest in the outer parishes. A lot of persons may have said, oh, why is only St. David's? Why is only Lassages? But we have made attempts to go all parishes, go to all parishes to look for talent in the throws. Unfortunately, we were only able to get a few in St. John, and there was a challenge in St. John's with the equipment and space like that, because you know Natalia Vincent, who was one of our very successful javelin throwers, right? She was the national record holder at some time. She is now a coach, and she was working along with some of the throwers that we identified in St. John. But there was some breakdown, and I think that has fallen apart. So we continued with St. George and St. Andrew along with St. David. So I would have had 3 coaches working along with me, and they would go to St. George's and St. Andrew, and then one day they with me in Lassages working along with the throws. So we had a few throwers come from St. George's and a few throwers come from St. Andrews again, but then that fell apart because the project went down after the change in the executive of the Olympic Committee. So funding is a problem. To be able to sustain a program like that, you have to either bring the coaches to the athletes or the athletes to the coaches, right? And there sadly aren't much persons as coaches who are interested in the hard work, non-glamorous events like the tour events in Grenada, sadly.
Yeah, and by the way, your stage of qualification in terms of throws, you are the instructor level. Are you at the instructor level?
No, unfortunately, there wasn't a level 5 when I in throws when I got to do the level 5. So I took the combined events.
Combined,
right? And I haven't done the instructors level because the World Athletics would have suspended their training program since in the 2013, 2015 around there, and it hasn't yet been reinstituted. So maybe when that time comes around, I may consider becoming a lecturer.
Right, that's not a bad idea. Let's get some comments here. Well, good morning from Chenny Joseph. Good morning, Paul Phillip. Greetings from another Virgin City offspring. Well, he's saying probably his, parents from St. David, but Jenny will claim anything. He says to the host, greetings once more, the mighty Rudian and 800-meter specialist, Michael Bascom. This coming from a former 400-meter silver medalist at the World Novice Classics. Jenny always with some. Latoya Roberts, if it's one thing I appreciate from Anderson is the marketing and promotion of himself and actually putting himself out there. They will do so much for Grenada and the future throwers and attract sponsorship. And Jenny says, I'm curious what caused a change in administration having such a problem discontinued. But that's the Olympic Committee to speak about that. But certainly, Paul, in terms of your program at Lasages, particularly with your club, Trailblazers, how that has been going, because I know for, a period of time during the year, your attention will be on Anderson and having to, see about his, his needs in terms of with travel and, and all these sort of things, especially when you have to move to Europe for a period of time sometimes, and participate in events and, probably training programs and things. How do you mesh that with your program, particularly at Trailblazers, your home club?
Well, we had a special arrangement in Trailblazers. So yes, I'm the head coach, and I do all of the programming. But I was blessed to have some really talented young people, committed young people with me over the last few years. I had Josh Hazard, who was a former thrower himself, Curfta medalist, and I had Danisha Braffett, Joel John, Joshua John, and now I have Mr. Bassanio Nicholas, who you would have seen at the Paralympics.
Right.
And then I have Mr. Michael Francis Smeshy, who is also a physical education teacher at the St. David's Catholic Secondary School. Now, in my absence, I have those persons execute the programs with daily feedback. Yeah, with daily feedback, so that we ensure that there is some continuation of the standards that we go by in St. David's Trailblazers. It's not easy. It's never been easy. A lot of times we've lost throwers because we've lost athletes in general because they don't feel that, oh, Coach Paul and they, so it's not the same and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a challenge,
Yeah.
but we make it work, because at St. David's Trailblazers, we really care about the athletes' holistic development, right? And they have a like a saying in Grenada, say, dog does go where you getting food, where you getting love and care. And our athletes, they love what they get in St. David's Trailblazers, because we go beyond the call of duty. We are not just only coaches wanting for athletic performances, right? We reach out from and do much more than just what they do on the track or in the field, right? So we have a little thing going there that keeps the athletes loyal to a certain degree to what the club has to offer for them.
Rudian, you have something to ask Coach?
Surely, yes. Coach, on just dealing with Anderson, what challenges do you face in any category in terms of sponsorships or traveling or anything, and what is the biggest challenges you have had in the past? Because a lot of people believe this is the city athlete now, and they don't know the challenges they have to go through to get there. And sometimes athlete have to make up their mind that it's not a bed of roses. You have to go through to come out. But certainly, is there any challenges that you are that you're facing now, or the challenge that you have faced in the past that you overcome, or still trying to figure it out, even with through dealing with Grenada and dealing with sponsorships and dealing with getting meeting certain people, just whichever it is.
There is the general notion here that he's a professional athlete, okay, and the word professional goes with the money, yeah. But I think there is some level of education that is needed, where our general population and corporate Grenada needs to understand that there is a number of areas that the athletes would still need support. If you are to weigh the level of sponsorship that an athlete gets across track and field, you would realize that there are varying degrees of support, of sponsorship that the shoe companies would give. Okay, so I think the throwers, any thrower, shot put, javelin, discus, hammer, and the multi events are probably the lowest paid in the whole of track and field. Just to give a little insight without even talking about somebody's actual paycheck, there are athletes leaving the NCAA and signing a $500,000 contract with Nike or Puma or whoever, because you sprint, you do 1, 2, 4, 100-meter hurdle, 200-meter hurdle, up 800. Okay, as a distance runner, you probably might sign for maybe $100,000-$200,000 a year. A thrower, they start you at $20,000-$25,000 a year, right? And decathletes, sometimes they give them only apparel. Okay, so in the case of my charge, it is not that the guy is a wealthy guy because he says he's a professional athlete. So there are still many challenges. For example, we go to Europe mid-May, early July, to do all of the circuit events, because that's how you get to make money. And for throwers, even as the world champion, even as a two-time world champion, if you're a sprinter and your agent is going to negotiate for you to show up at a meet, they probably be starting to talk 50 grand upwards, right? But for a thrower, that's five grand, like just the appearance. Okay, if you win at a Diamond League, that's like $10,000 if you win. Okay, let's say you didn't win and you get third place. That's probably 5 grand. Okay, now living in Europe, it means that you have to be living in a hotel, or you have one of those international training facilities in like we stay at a center in Portugal, right? That costs money, and those monies come from the athlete's pocket, because I don't have none. But I have to be there with the athlete to be able to prepare the athlete and to make the travel to those meets as short as possible, so that you don't have all the jet lag. It takes a flight from Grenada to Miami or to New York or to England, and we know how many hours that would be for the athlete to travel. So we can be back and forth from Grenada as a base to compete in Europe, and that's costly, right? So the flights are costly, and then you have to the living expenses, and you have to pay for the use of the facilities on the road, right? So that's a lot of cost right there. Now, an athlete that gets $30,000 a year for a sponsorship contract, that's done, right? So you have to prepare, and I think that's what is pushing us to have to be successful at every meet that we go. Right? We had to try and get the maximum on offer every meet, every outing, and we have to train while doing those. Right? So we can't pick. So for example, this year our first meet was in Doha, and this one was third in Doha with a throw of 85 meters something. Okay, he was required 88-meter throw to get a bronze medal at the Olympics, but you had to train throughout, and that is a challenge for a coach, right? You are a coach yourself, so you, Rudy, and you would know that it is not easy. Okay, then I have to be leaving my family. I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer, so I have to be leaving my family for 5 months of a year. My garden is now in bush, right, up to my waist. So when I come back, I still have to go farming, because sometimes, like last season, the paycheck wasn't nothing to shout about, you know. So it's a challenge, and some people may look at it and, oh, he's getting a thing, and you know, he have a little Republic Bank sponsorship, so people will say, well, the bank sponsor and they give him big money. And then with the nice little show we had the other day, go around the island and everything, and they see a $200,000 at was $100,000 come on a check, and you know, people will be, yeah, you rich now, you know, but that money is almost done when I say that in terms of the expenses that the athletes would have had to incur. Fortunately, this season, the government of Grenada, kudos to them, they would have stepped up, I think 3 months or 4 months ahead of the Olympics to give some support to the athletes for their preparation, and Anderson would have benefited from that. So some of the expenses were offset for traveling to some of the meets, right? But that was just for 4 months. What happens before that? And I am back in Grenada and having to answer one question every day. And that question was something that you alluded to in the early, but I don't want to deliberate that too much. So this is some of the challenges that we have. The other thing is equipment. Last year we started off with 5 javelins. We travel with 5 javelins to meets, and that again is a cost. You know now that the airlines don't want to take javelins. So when we could have gone to Miami, for example, from Grenada, fly to Miami and then fly over to Europe, we have to now go to New York, because the American airlines no longer take javelin. You have to pay for them, yes, of course, but they don't take javelins no more. They say the risk of carrying it, they might have to pay back for it and all them kind of stuff. They don't take it, right? So we either have to go to New York or go through London. That's the travel with it. No, we go to meet. Sometimes as I said, we left with 5 last year. Within the first month of being on the circuit, we lost 2. One javelin is upwards of $1,100 US, right? So, and we don't have a sponsor for javelin, so we gotta buy it out of the pocket, right? So it's a challenge financially, and I think much more support could come from it, come to the athlete to help make this thing a success. I want to live nice too, and I mean, if the athlete have to take the money to buy equipment and pay for all of these things, I ain't gonna get no money.
Yeah, but
No, surely,
you know,
surely.
lots of information provided there, Paul, and you know, especially in terms of Anderson, because as you said, you know, people will just look at just the success, right, and the successes, I should say, rather, but forgetting sometimes probably the trail of disappointments, the challenges in most cases that such an athlete has to endure. So, you know, we celebrate the moment, okay? They come home and we celebrate the moment. But then for some reason, you know, and that's why sometimes I wish when we have those opportunities for the celebration, that at times, like what you're saying there, you're given the opportunity to basically outline. So amidst the celebration, people could appreciate, yes, why are we celebrating the challenges that an athlete would have gone through. One of the things I have noticed, for example, Paul, while you're there and that, is that how, for example, the Indians, and that's how I get to follow sometimes Anderson. Why? Well, you know Chopra from since when we were in we were in the junior championships in Poland. Yeah,
Poland.
I was there for in Poland when Chopra came big on the scene, right? And one of the things the Indians do in particular, they write multiple stories about Chopra. And because the Indians have a lot of media outlets, I mean, come on, they're probably the most populous, what they say, democracy.
Yeah, the most populous country in the world.
Yeah, in the world. So they have hundreds and probably thousands of media outlets. So could you imagine every one of these writing something about Chopra? So on a daily basis, once you see Chopra, there's something they may include about Anderson Peters. And that's how Anderson, by virtue of that, gets that little promotion, because they will write something and say, well, Chopra got the silver in the Olympic Games. Guy from Pakistan got the gold, Anderson Peters got the bronze. So Anderson name comes in. But I'm just how they use social media to push and promote their athletes. And I wish it's something we can do. Because when you look at social media, especially Grenadians, they spend probably 80 to 90% of the time with gossip, with gossip. And the only time you'll find they get excited about our sportsmen and sportswomen, our athletes, is when they do something well, or when they come on to ask for a link, a streaming link to see the athletes perform, But no one will ask, okay, I wonder what our athletes are doing now. It's the end of the season, so I wonder what they're doing now. How they are, they're spending their vacation, if they have a vacation, these sort of things. I mean, for example, Paul Phillip is just talking about, going to tend his land, because it's bushy, things like that. So what is Coach Paul Phillip doing now? And then certainly he'll have to check his on preparing athletes for the intercall, because for some of them the track and field season will, in terms of preparation, will start within the next few weeks if they haven't started as yet. Normally when school reopens, there's a program. So all these things are things that we have to think about. Just some comments there before Rudian comes on. Based on what Paul has stated, can you imagine the challenges for an upcoming athlete will experience keeping the motivation to succeed? These are some of the reasons why many fall through the crack. That's from Chenny Joseph. And good morning, Mr. Edwin Sam. Great insight into the grit and grind of a field athlete, particularly a field athlete, because all the glamour and the attention normally is on the track. And I remember, Paul, it was many moons ago, probably even before we started this program. I remember speaking. In fact, I was still involved in the media in Grenada. And Paul was asking for more attention. You recall that? Because at the time, Intercall was all about the track. And Mr. Phillip was the one who had made that appeal for more attention placed on the field events, especially because the cameras, everything was just on the track. Even the photographers used to have their attention only on the track and no one focusing on the field. The only time the field will get a light is probably when there's a big throw and then the crowd, wow, because some section of the crowd is looking on. And then you might see the photographers running across the field. But, it's already, it's a split, the throw is already made, But now you see that even the stadium announcer, for example, is turning the attention to the field events. And now we'll see this person in the high jump or in the long jump or in the throw, the discus or whatever, they're making their third attempt at one and one. We're seeing that now. We're seeing it even on the international field where you can even get a feed. You know, if depending on the meet you're looking at, you can get a feed specifically for the field event. So if you're a field event guru, you can follow that feed to get all the throws, all the jumps, whatever it is like that. So, but Paul, are you confident? And I mean, I alluded to that earlier in the context of a legacy. But are you confident that we will find not just male but female? Because one point in time we had female throwers. Kandisha Scott is one, for example, who I thought would have been because Kandisha and Anderson were probably on the same wavelength at that time, and she battled a lot of injuries and things like that. But are you certain that at some point in time we'll find that breakthrough where we'll get that crop of field event athletes where we once dominated, for example, the Caribbean Games? I mean, Jamaica and Guadeloupe the French Doms were the only challenges we really had in the field events, especially the throws, Guadeloupe, Martinique, and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but are you confident that we can probably get back to that stage where we once dominated the field events, the throws in particular, shot put, discus, javelin? By the way, don't you know that Paul Phillip was a champion in the shot put and discus, not so much a javelin, but look at it, he's an outstanding javelin thrower. I mean, coach, I should say. He was a champion in discus and shot put, not the javelin, but he's a coach in the javelin. Yes, Paul, are you confident that we will?
Not so confident. At the junior level, I'm still trying to find talent, and the wider the talent pool is, the more your chances of finding a good one to push on. Now, I don't know when last you've been to Grenada and really check out what we have. Now, if you watch a PE class, for example, at a primary school or at secondary school, I should say secondary school because it's more glaring at the secondary school, the expectations that you have of a normal child growing up in Grenada is that he could pelt, he could run, he could jump, he could climb a tree. Right? Now, we are having now to teach students at the secondary school level how to throw, how to pelt.
No boyhood or girlhood days.
That's it. Boyhood or girlhood days with a gadget.
No,
that's what's happening. Yeah. And it is a big challenge now to even find a person that has it naturally. You could just pick up a javelin and throw it there. You could pick up a shot put and throw it there. They look big. And we used to say you're big and you flow. We have big flow people now, right? Where the coordination is not there. And so the real challenge is to find coaches in Grenada, physical education teachers in Grenada, who are competent and have the love and passion for, because without the passion for the throws, you will be talking to Paul Phillip about nothing now. Okay? The most important ingredient in the success that we're speaking about now, Anderson Peters and Lindon and who, was as a passionate coach with the drive to make something of the talent that we have. Okay? We don't have a lot of that. What we see is people hurriedly running to get a group of persons together in January to field a team for intercall. We don't see like in my time when I was at St. David Secondary School, we had a principal who understood the importance of each event in the track and field program and other sports. And so she gave us whatever resources that we needed within the budget of the school to get equipment, to get videotapes and literature that you could learn about how to do the thing. Right? We even got from the school funds some monies where you could procure some stuff to have the athletes eat a little better and all of that kind of stuff. Now, and I don't want to go into people's territory, intercol games, which is quote unquote the biggest track and field event on the island, cannot boast itself of saying that it has helped our athletes and our coaches and our schools in developing the athletes that make the intercol program. We're falling short right there. If you don't have equipment, how do you expect to produce a javelin thrower? The schools will tell you, if I have $500 US, I will not buy a javelin because the school need other things. Rightfully so. So we have to find a way to, first of all, get the young physical education teachers up to speed with what is needed, necessary to spot a person who might have an inclination to become a thrower, and to be able now to teach them the basics. The refining work will come later. But if you cite a child 7, 8, 10 years old who has a good arm, you can work on some little basics. And when the child gets to 15, 16, you say, okay, well, maybe we could put you with one of Coach Paul's charges and be able to get some more knowledge. Or the coach, because we at Trackblazers always welcome people. The coach can come. That's how Mr. Bassanio came, and then he didn't go back because he didn't really have a club. He came with his daughter to learn how to coach his daughter. And now we have given him the para section of the Trackblazers as his grouping to work with, right? So coaches are welcome to come in and to learn from us what is needed to take a talent, develop it to the character level, and then develop it beyond that. I am willing to, but there are conditions now because I wasn't treated too fairly by the coaching fraternity in Grenada. Everybody had plenty to say about me, and so I even had to leave the coaches chat that the organization has. Right? I don't want to be no part of it because everybody feel the fence low, they could jump over.
All right. So I really, before you come out there, because it's interesting because I look at the name Ryan John, for example, who is a cricketer, and Paul will smile because Paul knows Ryan himself was an accomplished, well, I shouldn't say, accomplished in the sense that a Carifta Games medalist in the throws, in the multi-events, I should say, right? And somehow we lost Ryan John, who, by the way, is now a top cricketer. He plays for, he's now in the CPL, right? I was looking at him yesterday, last night, for example. He's playing for the Patriots with St. Kitts Patriots with Andre Fletcher. Okay, yeah, his own boy, right? But that is the context in which I'm saying that we have been losing some of these talents, and there was an interesting thing that came out of the Olympics. Hear that, and I'll read it. A cricketer from Pakistan won the javelin gold. A cricketer from India won the silver medal, and a cricketer from Grenada won the bronze. They all cricketers. They played cricket somewhere or the
Yeah,
other.
yep.
All
All
three
played
of them.
cricket.
All played cricket. So the person was saying, calling all cricketers to give it a shot. They call it all cricketers to give it a shot because the Pakistani, the Indian, and the Grenadian, all cricketers, and they all won medals, gold, silver, and bronze. And the person was saying, "Good morning to you, Felix from Barbados. All cricketers, please give it a shot." But it's interesting you made mention of because and especially the challenges, from basically the cradle, because that's a challenge, and I like how you outline it. If they do not have the passion, if they're not doing it even at the secondary schools, because you looked at the secondary school because you're saying here at the secondary school level, we have to actually teach them a basic thing as throwing. I mean, yes, you will get into the mechanics of how to do the javelin properly and things, but just the basic of throwing or pelting, they cannot do it at the secondary school level, and that's what we're talking about in future programs. When they get at the secondary level, coaches have to be teaching kids how to even pass a ball. Let's look for football, for example, how to pass a ball, the basics of netball and basketball. That shouldn't be the case at the secondary school level. They should be at another level. At the primary school, that is where you have that sort of developmental program. Patrick Simmons says, think the inquiring eyes of the coaches should start at the primary level and follow them to the secondary level. He says cricket did the job, throwing, pelting, or catching. And the Lincoln says, same situation with other sports. Lack of coordination and skills developed through activities like skipping off a rope or playing pickup football and cricket on the road or on the beach impacted football and bat and ball all the way up to West Indies tests and limited overs levels. So certainly some comments coming in from other folks. Melissa St. Rose, let's get some focus on the PE program in the primary school level. Yes, sir. Yeah. And Lee says, good day listening from Penn State Airport currently. Very interesting points presented here. Kids athletics, I've always loved that concept. And Melissa comes back to say, good morning, Coach Paul. Rudian?
Yes, so much. I know the time is running out. Mr. Phillip, we have to bring it back. We have to bring it back. There was a few things that you certainly said there that surely Michael and I, there is ways to do a lot of things, certainly to help. But we know a lot of people talk about the PE situation. Then a lot of it, and I'm talking about somebody who is a teacher, at the primary school. The education system is failing them in the PE problem, in terms of doing what they want to do. So the failure start with the education system. And that's from one person and his views. It might be other people may say no, but that's just from his views, right? Who's been around for many years doing this stuff now. When it comes to this point now where he's saying that there is a failure, there is a breakdown from the education system in terms of giving them what they needed to certainly help them in that situation. We grew up, the foundation started for me in primary school. The foundation. By the time I get to high school, they didn't need to teach me how to run again or how to jump. I know how to do that because of the foundation. So if there is no foundation, then they come in and you have to teach them how to do this. And we're seeing the same thing with some coaches on the college level. But I said, we will get there, because when you go to a new school, the coach want to teach you their way, and the development of that athlete comes from what they know. But when you teach them something else, you realize they're not performing well because you teach what they, kind of thing. But that's a total different thing. And certainly there is failure. And then we talk about the gadgets and so forth that the kids are doing now. And this is my take on it. Why there is no programs? Me growing up in St. Patrick's, in the Settlers area, we had programs. If there is nothing, what are the kids gonna do? Gadgets. That's just how I seen it. Everyone will see it differently. That's how I seen it. More programs, will make a big difference. The after school programs will make a big difference. That's why I'm constantly saying I really love the parish council. I really want them to get going because they could make a difference. They can do things that can get those kids back going and even working with the, the young ones. But like I said, we're going to bring it back. There's a few things, certainly we want to talk about. But just one thing before you go. We had a 4 medals in the Olympics from the decathlete, the javelin, the discus, and the shot put. Do you see there is a change happening in the Caribbean in the field events in the near future?
There has been some change. I think Jamaica has led the change. In the Jamaican context, they have diversified, as Michael mentioned earlier. Jamaica was nowhere in the throws a few years ago, but that is what can happen when people concentrate on something. There are a few coaches in Jamaica who decided, listen, in order for us to win boys and girls champs, we have to have throws.
Yeah.
Okay, and that has opened up again another thing for people from other Caribbean islands who do throws on a regular, right? So some of our young ones would have gone to Jamaica because they tell them they could throw javelin. So you don't have a javelin coach in Jamaica. They're trying to get me to come to Jamaica to teach them how to do the javelin and all of that kind of stuff. They've tried for a number of years too. But the program there and the program here would also be focused on the sprints, but focus on getting, in Jamaica's case, discus and shot put, right? And as we saw, Jamaica had a gold medal in the discus and a silver medal in the shot put. Both of those guys were competitors along with Josh Botang from Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I had a conversation, and I have to call Josh to have a conversation with him because Mr. Campbell, who was Josh playmate, I should say, he said, my coach, you had to do something to get Josh to come back because look, Josh used to beat me up in college, and look me now, he's an Olympic silver medalist. He was third at the Diamond League finals, and he's saying, tell Josh, man, come back and try to get some out of the sport for what he would have put in. Now, in Grenada's context, we don't have a lot of Josh in terms of size and things like that. Josh was a special athlete because of his build, and he loved the throws.
Yeah, he loved.
So we need to have more of those. But in the countries who have those naturally, man, the average Jamaican guy at 16 is bigger than a Grenadian guy. They said they had the biggest slaves go to Jamaica, right? And they have that in the DNA, And those who are fallouts from the sprint program, which is the fast twitch muscle fibers now, they naturally go into the throws and become successful because it is the same thing that you need. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, yes, there is a push, but it's only coming from a few countries. And I think Grenada and Jamaica are the forefront. I want to say one thing before I leave, though, because I realize your time is counting down. I cannot leave without mentioning. We talk about the future, and I want to put this out there because I really need some support for our two athletes who were at the same par as Anderson Peters. Kalisha, as Michael would have mentioned, she went off to the US and Makim Felix. Okay, Makim was our second best javelin thrower. He got to 78 meters. He got a scholarship maybe 2 years after Anderson left, but he got injured. In Grenada, we don't have the medical expertise to rehabilitate, so he had to wait until he get to the US to do something. He had his challenges there. He is now on the way back, so he's gotten to 74 meters back this year after having surgery done on his elbow. throwing elbow. Candisha had 2 or 3 surgeries on her knees. She's back in Grenada, working here, and is willing to make a comeback. I am seeking the necessary support for them. What I'm proposing is that they become throws coaches along with our program, and that we can have a program where we go around to the different places, identify talent, bring them into that academy that we have, that is not officially an academy because we don't have the necessary funding and so forth. And we could start to build around Candisha, Anderson, Makin, program that would have a succession of throwers coming. Javelin throwers. We have a Carifta silver medalist, Rayvon Telesford, who is still in Grenada. He has not gotten a scholarship yet. So he would naturally be continuing to train and try to improve his distances. And who knows, maybe he can do a course online or something before he goes, and maybe LA, he might be one of those persons selected, making the standard because the thing has changed, right? So if we get some support, we can continue. And I think Michael was not too happy that I said I wasn't ready to come on his program last week or 2 weeks before.
No, I understood.
I wanted to make sure that I have certain information and that I don't come here, say something, and somebody interpret it wrong.
Yeah.
But it's timely in terms of the end of the season. But and I'm glad you made that point, because the question Chenny had asked about being and I think you answered it to some extent, is that he wanted to hear your recommendations to the schools, the ministry, the Olympic Committee, Association of Government, and how we can groom the next Kirani, Lindon, and Anderson. And I think you put that into the context, which also tied into my final question I wanted to ask you about that throwing academy. But it has to boil down to funding. And I think that is the main thing. It's not so much a building, it's not so much a building. An academy doesn't necessarily have to be a building. The funding, I think, is a fundamental issue there. But and so finally, I'm asking you, what would be your recommendation to get something like that going, even if it has to be at a sort of minimal stage, but having a throwing academy, because how it will help not just Grenada, but particularly the OECS and probably the Caribbean.
Okay, so I am, and I say I will come back on the program soon.
Certainly,
but I would say this: I have submitted a document that lays the foundation for the academy. All right, that document is still being worked on in collaboration with the Athletic Association, because I don't want to do something and somebody say I Paul making a money. I had to make a money, yes, but this is not about me now. We heard a lot of talking during the celebration, a lot of people talking about LA to come, the Olympics. But we have to do more to ensure that we have a continuation of those medals that we're pulling in from the Olympics, from the World Championships. And I'm willing to sacrifice this. Many times, Michael, you would have known people saying, oh, why you didn't go somewhere when you had the chance to? I stayed back, and this is the result. Grenada needs its people, its human resource to help develop the next generation, no matter which field you are in. If all our top intellects in whatever field leaves and go to somewhere else because the pasture is greener over there, and you could make $2 more, what is going to happen to our country? What is going to happen to our youth? Who's there to mold them? And this is why I am here. Okay? I'm not a rich man by any stretch of an imagination. I still drive a Corolla 1998. Okay? And it's not about the money. And as you say, what the academy needs, it needs a home. Okay? I'm still in the little bathroom section in Las Vegas. We're still there. with a few weights. We got like a squat rack and a little piece of bench, and I have some tires and 2 pieces of sledgehammer and a wool culvert that we go use and all this kind of thing. We need to have proper equipment, right? We need to have a state-of-the-art something where we could facilitate in all weather conditions. Because if rain fall, we can't lift weights. Because we usually have to take the weights outside to do what we need to do. We still have the old weights, metal weights. Rudy and you're a coach, you know that having the bumper plates is essential.
Yeah.
Those cost money, right? So we need that. Paul can't take no more money out of his pocket. My children now finish college. They need to go to university. Whatever little dollars I have, I had to start putting that into my children's whatever, right? So what is needed is financial support and a sit down with I don't want people just say, well, okay, we give him $100,000. What are you giving $100,000 for? Come and have a sit down and say, this, let me tell you what is needed to make an academy work. What is needed to take an athlete from throwing 30 meters to throwing 60 meters. And they say, okay, this is the cost. The cost is justified. So people don't feel that they're giving me money to put in my pocket and have a good time. Right? Every cent, right, is accounted for. Right? A javelin is that cost. This is that cost. That is that cost. I'm going to give this coach $20. That coach is going to get $15. That coach is going to get $5. Why? Everything. So we need to have a proper sit down and with the finances and all of this. And it doesn't have to come only from government. I'm pretty sure that there's some Grenadian in diaspora who is a billionaire, a millionaire, or some trillionaire or something, who has monies that they probably would want to invest in Grenada. This is an opportunity to invest in the young people in Grenada. You have somebody, you can't get a person more passionate about youth than Paul Phillip. So just in case you're listening and you want to spend some money, that's the right place to start.
All right. I want to thank you very much, Paul. That has been very instructive, very, very much so. Thank you very much, Paul. And as we say, we'll invite you back so you can relax and give a full account. And one of the things we need to do, because we have a 2-time world champion and an Olympic medalist, and the condition he is actually training in, I mean, as you indicated, I mean, something has to be done. He's not unlike the others who are training in a world-class equipment, facility or whatever it is like that. His training area is, as you say, tires and all these sort of things. Okay, so
I would really love for you or one of the media houses to actually do a document. I was looking for somebody to do a documentary since 2015.
Well, I do have is something from way back where you do the narration. Remember that video and the narration where you're actually going around and showing those things. And I believe that is still the condition it is in, where you were showing what it is, where it is, whatever. I still have that video. I must make it available.
So it would be nice to have a contrast back then and to now. See what has happened, what has actually changed, how we actually made an Olympic medalist, a 2-time world champion from that little rat nest in Las Vegas.
All right.
That might bring some clarity. That might bring some kind of eye-opening experience for some person sitting there and thinking that, oh yeah, Grenada has done well, and Paul Phillip, yeah, he's doing well too, right? I'm still looking for sponsorship for David Trackblazers. As a matter of fact, when I get them off here, I have a meeting with a gentleman who might be wanting to help support the academy idea that I'm having. So I'm going to have a conversation with him. He's in Grenada for a few days. But I'm looking, right? So it's not about me. I don't go asking government or asking anybody for anything for Paul Phillip. Paul Phillip works, plant a little thing in the garden, and get a little money from government for teaching track and field. And that's how he survives. So I'm not a millionaire by any stretch of an imagination, people. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Paul. All the best. Thank you. Yeah. All right. All right. Wow, that's a lot from Paul, boy. But Paul is like, as we always say, is like Key Joseph and Brian and all these folks. When he comes on, he brings a lot of passion, a lot of information, and I want to thank him. And certainly, it will be an opportunity to have Paul again, so we can talk a little more in depth into it. He's just off the season, just a week. Just last week he had the end of the season, and certainly Paul brought a lot of insights into what are mainly the challenges, because Rudy and we all celebrate, and we have to celebrate.
Of course.
Hearing the backstory of how these athletes actually, how they struggle basically to get where they are, because I can tell you, it's no secret to where Anderson, when he's home, where he trains, where he does his weights and all sort of things. Right? It's no secret.
There's challenges.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Rudian. I want to thank you for being part of the program. Okay.
No problem. Thanks again,
folks. Hopefully, God's willing, next weekend our special guest should be Kirani James. Okay. Should be Kirani James. We'll have Kirani James on our program come next week, where he will give us a lot of insights into that season of 2024 in particular, and his plans for the future. So once things are in place, it's a time for you to really go down, because we should have the king himself, soon to be Dr. Kirani James. Yeah. All right, then. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Have a good one.
You're welcome. Okay, then, folks, that's all for this week's program. Always a pleasure having you, and looking forward to your company next weekend for another program. Until then, do have yourself a pleasant